Yo, what's up guys, it's Koga here again, this time with an absolutely massive banger of a build. Now this build, which I called Frozen Girth BV for a specific reason, is so much fun, dude. The visuals there, the damage is there, the survivability is there. It's become one of my most tankiest characters, as it's already level 93, so I haven't died too much with it, so I usually don't play past level 90. But on top of that, we freeze almost every single boss in the game. Literally the only bosses we can't freeze are the ones that are freeze immune. Even the Conquerors themselves, which cannot be fully slowed, which means they can't be frozen. Right, they get chilled down to the point that they look frozen. Check this shit out. He's in midair, bro. Oh fuck. He literally fell and froze midair. That is hilarious. I'm recording this shit. You see this shit? You okay up there, bro? That fucking pose, dude. Okay, I'll stop bullying. I froze her? You can freeze her? What? Don't kill me, don't kill me, don't kill me. Fucking ignite. I don't know you can freeze her. Now, this build is a little bit complicated because it has a lot of mechanical synergies between the Ascendancies, the gear that we pick, and of course the cluster jewels that we pick. It works so freaking well that I'm super excited to show you guys. Now, what we do pick is Hierophant. The reason for this is because it gives us a massive amount of girthy AoE. If we read Sanctuary of That, it gives you 1% increase of AoE per 50% unreserved maximum mana. Since we are an Archmage build, we're not reserving any mana whatsoever. All our auras are going to be fitting into our life, so this build isn't low life build. Now, the reason why this works is you get, because of the 1% per 50 unreserved, if we hit 5,000 mana, which obviously checked out because we hit over 7,000 easily, we get 100% increased AoE from that. And as BV being, you know, an AoE spell, getting a very big circle is super nice. And that's not where it stops there. We also have Illuminated Devotion, which gives us 25% increased AoE when we have Arcane Surge, which is up 100% of the time, due to a node on the tree called Arcane Capacitor, which gives us Arcane Surge on kill. And then for bosses, we do have Arcane Surge with Arcane Cloak, allowing us to cast a level 20 Arcane Surge buff, since it costs basically all your freaking mana to cast a damn spell, right? On top of that, you do have increased AoE, and maybe if you get quality in the BV, it's another 10% increased AoE. In total, this build should easily get over 170% increased area effects, just the name Girth. Awesome, right? Now moving on, we are Archmage, so we are lightning damage primarily. So how do we convert all that damage to cold? Obviously, we're using Call of the Brotherhood. This thing is so good for the build because now we're converting all our cold damage, all our lightning damage to cold, which is awesome because there's a lot of cluster jewels that work in synergy with the cold to lightning, the lightning to cold conversion, which I'll explain now. Now, you might be wondering why we're not dealing with any physical to lightning as we talk about the build later on. The reason for it is because Archmage is so busted in terms of the amount of mana cost you can get and flat damage of lightning, that going from fist to lightning conversion and investing into that stat on your gear, let's say like your weapon, a Watcher's Eye, and maybe even gloves, was not worth the investment because it basically gave no damage. Ironically enough, I did manage to hit a +3 to Socketed Gems chest piece, which ended up selling for 125 exalts on my Ivory Tower. Stress levels. Something happened. And what did we get? Holy shit! Oh my god! What? And the reason I sold is because the increased AoE, the increased level of BV basically added no damage to the build. Noting that Archmage is pretty much the primary source of damage. So let's talk about this real quick. So now that we're actually converting our lightning damage to cold, it allows us to do a lot of, of course, flat cold damage. So now we have Conviction of Power. From our Ascendancy, Conviction of Power gets a 25% chance to get an endurance charge when you gain a power charge. Feast your eyes on these two medium jewel clusters. We have Cold Conduction, which enemies chilled by your hits are shocked. So that means that no matter what, we're going to shock them if they are chilled. We don't have to deal with, shock chance or maybe the shock effect. This is depending on how much damage you do. Since our damage is primarily cold, we cannot shock our enemies any other way other than, let's say, summon Skitterbots, right? Which is awesome for this build. On top of that, there's another node called Storm Rider. Storm Rider gives you a 10% chance to gain a power charge when you shock a chilled enemy. Oh my god, we are cold damage. With Cold Conduction, you're going to be shocking them. Thus, we have 100% uptime with power charges. And since we have 100% uptime with power charges, right, Now, a Conviction of Power from an Ascendancy gives us 100% uptime on endurance charges because it has 25% chance to get an endurance charge when you gain a power charge, which means that with a cast from damage taken a Mortal Call, it procs all the time fully buffed out with 3 endurance charges, lasting 3 seconds every time. So between this over 7k ES, over 7k mana pool, and Immortal Call proccing all the time on top of your Arcane Cloak, which gives us about a 2000 buff HP, it's a lot of defenses, guys. And this build easily clears Wave 20, Simulacrum, super smooth. I fucking love it. And those are so many synergies, right? On top of that, we have the large cluster jewels nodes called Blanketed Snow, which gives us penetration and cold if they're chilled. Awesome. And the main one that gives a little bit of more synergy is Snowstorm, giving us 10% of our lightning damage as extra cold damage. Since the majority of our damage is technically lightning because of Archmage, that we're getting 10% added as cold, which is amazing, dude. That's like, it almost double dips, if you could say, with all the lightning and cold damage we have in the build, right? And that is pretty much what we do. Otherwise, we're just stacking, of course, Energy Shield, a lot of maximum mana of extra ES to get a lot of Energy Shield, flat ES anyway, and of course, a lot of maximum mana. That is pretty much the gist of the build. So, I'll show you guys a quick little montage before we're describing anything, but just let you guys know real quick, I do stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/Colgadas if you guys want to see these builds live and how they're made. I do have like 3 builds up in the making that I have to make YouTube videos for, so be looking out for that. On top of that, I'm starting to look into forum making because I know a lot of you guys would rather read a written forum guide, and personally I think that'd be better for me because I have a lot of detail in my builds and I would love to describe every single portion of it, and it's much easier to do if I write it down. So for that very reason, I'm gonna put coming soon below with the forum guide, and once it's done, I'll post a link below and you guys can check it out for any person in the future. But this will give me some time because I'm brand new to forum making, but look forward to that because I will make a forum and YouTube video for every build going forward. At least that's my goal. So with that, let's move on to the montage. Let's see what you guys think. Yo, what's up, guys? Hope you guys like the montage. Now let's talk about the actual build. Now remember, there is a forum guide eventually down below. We'll get there when I finish it, but it'll be a lot more detailed than this because I might skip over some things during this video. But I'm gonna do my best to describe all the little detail, intricate little parts that make the build work and do the damage that it does. Okay, moving on, let's first start with our ascendancies. Now, as described before, we are Hierophant. We do take Sanctuary of Thought, even though it reduces our mana cost, because yes, mana cost does equal damage for a build like an Archmage. However, we easily overcome this by stacking a bunch of favored mines, which give you increased mana costs. Easy as that, and they're not very expensive because people are volleying cobalt jewels to God's ends of the earth. So there should be plenty of them to go around. They're not very cheap, and if you want them even more budget, just don't go for a lot of spell damage. Just go for the minimum roll, because I believe it's 30 to 40. Yes, right. So we do get Sanctuary of Thought since this build is primarily ES and mana. The 20% of max mana is extra ES is absolutely massive, and that's where we get the majority of our energy shield you're going to see now, right? We do get Divine Guidance simply because it's on the way there, and it does give us maximum mana. No problems with that. Conviction of Power is, of course, as described below, amazing for the endurance charge sustain and gives us reduced elemental damage taken, a little bit of pen, and it works very well with the cluster jewels I described earlier. These two, giving us insane power charge, endurance charge, immortal call sustainability, essentially. And then of course, illuminated devotion for the AoE, a little bit of spell leech, so if for whatever reason you weapon swap and you lose all your auras, you can leech it back up, and it's more of like a quality of life thing. It's not a big deal. And of course, the spell damage. Now you're wondering why we don't take Arcane Blessing. The simple reason is that we don't care about this Arcane Surge because it's level 1. A level 1 Arcane Surge, if we go up here, gives us 10% more spell damage, while level 20 gives us 10% more. It's 20% more spell damage to be exact. So that's a nerfed version. And I don't really care too much about the immunity to ailments, because I know a lot of people are going to ask between Arcane Blessing and Conviction of Power. And the reason for that is because the only immunities I give a crap about are Freeze and then Bleed. Shock is not a big deal. The majority of times when you get Shock is because of Shock Ground. And then the other one is Ignites, which can be a little bit annoying, but we do have Energy Shield Leech in our, in our 6th link. And that covers basically all the region we would ever need against even Ignite. So while it may become an issue, I don't think it's worthwhile dropping Conviction of Power, losing endurance charges, and basically dropping Immortal Call. Immortal Call is just that good when it gives us, right here, 29% less elemental damage taken, 30% less physical damage taken at level 10 in the last 3 seconds, and it comes, it procs very, very often. So you can mess around with these two, but in my opinion, please take Conviction of Power. Immunity of Elements is not that big of a deal if you have Bleed and Freeze. That's my 2 cents on it. Those are what we take. As described earlier, we're just basically picking up a lot of mana nodes, cold damage nodes, spell crit, which is a crit build, right? And of course, aura nodes. Now, we do take primarily aura nodes, like let's say Sovereignty over here. And I had a reduced mana reservation over here, primarily because we need to fit all our auras into our life pool. We are low life because it gives us 30% more spell damage when on low life. And the reason how we cover cold chaos damage, because it goes directly bypassing energy shield and directly into your life pool, is of course the Ivory Tower. The Ivory Tower makes that chaos damage, instead of going directly to your life pool and ignoring energy shield, it goes to your mana. So technically we have 7,000 life against chaos damage. The problem is, please be careful, because as per cast you see, you only need 2 casts to max out your Blade Vortex, technically for clear. But as you see, you do waste a lot of mana. And if you pop Arcane Cloak, which takes a portion of your mana, as you saw here, it takes so much mana that if you're not noticing and your mana drops to like 100, if you take chaos damage at that point in time, it's going to go directly to your life pool and kill you. So please be mindful. We do have a lot of mana regen in the build. Don't waste all your mana. That's my only thing. You have 7,000 mana, use it wisely. That's what I would say. It should be pretty good. Right, so let's keep going with the tree. As you guys can see here, it's basically a lot of life nodes. We do take a Healthy Mind with a 1% reduced mana reserve. That helps a lot. I'll explain why. Converting all these life nodes into just straight up mana. So this thing gives us 18%, 28%, and 18% mana. Absolutely massive. Also converts this to mana as well. It's so good. I highly recommend it. It's super cheap. Reduced mana reserve one goes around for an Exalt, but it's absolutely worth it, because the only way that you can fit all your auras as low life is if you use a Prism Guardian. And it has its limitations, because the reason why Prism Guardian is so good is that Socketed Gems have Blood Magic, which means the auras go directly to your life pool. If you happen to use the Blood Magic support gem, as you guys see here, it has a mana multiplier, you see 196, which makes the aura cost more. So let's say this aura for Hatred costs around 50% mana reserved. If you link it to Blood Magic, it'll probably take up almost 100. Well, it's almost double. It's 196. It'll take like 98% of your life. That's not good. But on the shield, it doesn't have any mana, increased mana reservation. It acts just like a normal aura on your mana. It just takes 50%. But on top of that, it gives you a little bit of resistances, which are good. It gives us Socketed Aura Gems, and it has 25% reduce of mana reservation, allowing you to easily fit Hatred, because it's a F-ton of damage. Discipline for more energy shield, of course, it's an energy shield build. And Zeltry for more spell damage, crit chance, and of course, Consecrated Ground, which gives us more crit chance on the enemy. Leaving the only problem with the build is getting Herald Device for those juicy pops and for clear speed. So for that very reason, we have to use a level 4 Enlightened Herald Device linked with Blood Magic. Now, just so you guys know, I happen to cop I'll explain the helmet a bit, but I happen to cop this enchantment of Hatred cost less reduced mana reservation for 20 chaos only. I used to have this one down here. That allowed me basically to drop reduced mana reservation. Now, the reason why I'm not using a level 21 Blood Magic is, if you look at Ivory Tower, there's a lot of details. It says you get 30 flat ES per 100 reserve life. So you technically want to reserve more of your life than less. And if I use a level 21 blood magic, you can see here, now I lost 100 energy shield because I'm reserving less life. If I pop a level 20, it is cheaper, so you might as well. I'm back, I gained 100 energy shield. That's the little, you know, it's kind of weird, but pay attention to that. So if you do get a helmet like this and you do drop this, you know, drop your level 21 blood magic to level 20. If you do not have the helmet, just get a level 21 blood magic, a level 4 enlightened, get this one node, and you're good to go. It's not that big of a deal. I ran that all the way to level 90 until I found the helmet like this existed, the hatred one. And that should cover all your auras. Now, this 1% is necessary to run the Hell device with all the auras. So you do need at least one reduced mana reserved. And unfortunately, all our other jewels are favored mines, which are already corrupted. So there's no way you can get reduced mana reserved on those jewels themselves. Keep that in mind. Only keep it on, it's only possible on the healthy mine in this build. So that's the gist of the, you know, the passive skill tree. In the PvP below, you have the little early game, mid game, end game. You guys can see the leveling progression. For your cluster jewels, the only large jewel that you want is Blanketed Snow and Snowstorm with 2 jewels. They might be a little expensive. I believe in you. You can craft them. Just alt spam them until you get it. Blanketed Snow gives you penetration, since we are cold damage. And Snowstorm gives us a F-ton of flat cold from our lightning. Those are basically both my large jewels with 2 jewels. One of these cluster jewels is going to be, over here, is going to be this combination for cold conduction and Storm Rider to give you that sustainability on shocked, so they're going to take more damage. And power charge sustain, it gives you a little bit of cold damage because they're going to be shocked anyway. The lightning damage doesn't work because it's with hits against them. And since we're not hitting them with lightning damage, we're hitting them with cold, only the cold damage applies, unfortunately, but it's still good. And then, of course, this little jewel, Favored Mine. The last one, Favored Mine. A lot of Favored Mines. Right? In this scenario, it's another Favored Mine. Here, I did find a Megalomaniac for like 100 Chaos, which gives me Inspired Impression, which gives me 20% damage, elemental damage. Not a big deal, but it does give me mana regeneration if I froze and shock an enemy recently. And thanks to Storm Rider, Cold Conduction, they're always shocked, so that's 30% mana reserve there. Regeneration rate, excuse me. And freeze, it's only good for clear speed. We do freeze while clearing. That's really good. Against bosses, it depends on what you're fighting. So the other 30% mana regen is not that big of a deal. It was cheap, and that's what I wanted. There's other better options out there, like Energy for Night, which gives you 100%, not 100%, it gives you 100 flat ES. Will take you about to a 7,500 energy shield. There's also the other node that gives you, I think, 10% of your mana as ES. I forgot what it's called. I think Will of the Shaper is what it's called. That one's really good, but it costs a lot more money. And I just happened to find, I got this one because it had openness for more mana, and Improviser, it's like a weird mana node with attack speed. And since we do use Running Blades, it's like whatever. And it was cheap, so I got it. Otherwise, if you don't, just get another jewel like this with damage, and you sock it in another Favored Mine. It's the same thing. Because as you increase your mana cost goes up as well. So keep that in mind. Just sock it in another Favored Mine. Your damage should be higher with another Favored Mine, but you're going to be losing a little bit of ES. You'll probably be like 6,900. Not that big of a deal. That takes care of the cluster jewels for the most part. Hope you guys understood that. Let me know if you have any questions. Moving on to our gear. Now, since this is an Archmage build, you do want to stack mana. Mana is a very high source of damage for the build. So you technically want a weapon. It could be a scepter. It could be anything. I went with a dagger because I wanted to use Running Blades. Right? And you want spell damage. You want mana as much as possible. Try to get like, I went with 80 because it was like the best dagger I could find at the moment for like 70 chaos. But if you get over 100 mana, it's awesome. It gives probably the most damage out of everything. So spell damage, mana, the gain 9% of extra chaos is with the spell damage. If you get it, you get lucky, whatever. I crafted spell crit. Crit multi was just a plus. And I went with attack speed just so I can whirl faster. You might not care about that. You might just get like a royal scheme that has 1.45 base attack speed. It says 1.65. If you don't care about that and you're fine with just the movement speed or whatever, then I guess you can drop the attack speed. But I highly recommend to get a little bit of attack speed on your knife just so you can, you know, Whirling Blades faster. They're pretty cheap, guys. You don't need to get something decked out like this. You can just get spell damage, attack speed, and mana, and you're good to go. Maybe even spell crit, and that's it. You don't need something crazy. Moving on, the shield. You have to use the shield. Prism Guardian, of course, is where you socket in your major auras, Hatred, Discipline, and Zealotry. For your dagger, if I forgot to say this, it of course is Whirling Blades with Fortify and faster attacks. So you whirl faster, and you do proc Fortify, giving you a little bit, damage taken reduction, which is really good for defenses as well. And since we're warding blades, BV, you're going to be warding blades into the pack, which is good for arc least, but you can blow them up instantly. Now the helmet. The helmet is absolutely massive, guys. It gives you cold damage, it gives you lightning damage, which is both our damage, so we get affected by both of those. It gives us over 100 mana, a lot of damage, and then the big boy, gain 10% of maximum mana as extra energy shield. This thing gives us a lot of ES, guys, and it's super cheap. The only issue is that the mana as extra ES rolls from 5 to 10, so you have to divine it and get lucky. I got 2 of them at 10%, luckily within like 2 or 3 divines. But you want that 10%. The damage taken is really good, but that's not your priority. The priority is the ES, so focus on that. Awesome helmet, super cheap, highly recommend, use it. If I didn't cover the helmet real quick, it's Arcane Surge with Arcane Cloak. That way you get a maxed out Arcane Cloak and then cast the damage taken in Mortal Call like I described earlier. The only issue is it has low resistances, but you can cover that elsewhere. Your rings, mandatory, call the Brotherhood. Do not buy a corrupted one that does not have resistances. You're going to need the res. Just get a base one. Buy a corrupted, it'll be cheaper. Just make sure that the resistances up there are maxed out at 16%. If they're not maxed out at 16%, problem. Second thing, very, very important you have to look out if you buy a corrupted one. Please make sure they're 20% quality with the elemental damage. Because as you see here, the ring naturally has 40% of lightning converted to cold. But with the elemental catalyst giving it 20% quality, it goes up to 48. Which means we convert 96% of our lightning damage to cold, leaving only 4% lightning, which is perfectly fine. That is a lot of cold conversion, more than enough. Mandatory. Now, very quickly, guys, on the rings of the Call of the Brotherhood themselves, there's a very minor detail, because I get a lot of questions on this, so I want to cover it real quick. Remember, I told you guys we have cold conduction with shocks for us, and people are going to be like, well, Call of the Brotherhood already does that. It does not, guys. It makes your spells have 100% chance to shock against a frozen enemy. You still need lightning damage to shock. It doesn't miraculously say, hey, your cold damage can shock now. It's not what it's saying. It's saying if the enemy's frozen and you're dealing lightning damage, it has a 100% chance to shock, which is absolutely useless because since we're crit anyway, if we crit, it's going to shock anyway. Let's say if we were lightning damage. But since we're cold, we don't have lightning damage. We're not going to shock. And even if we did, I know we have like the 4% remaining lightning. It's not enough lightning damage to reach the threshold to shock them. For that very reason, Call of Brotherhood, shock does not work. You have to use Storm Rider. Keep that in mind. So for anybody who had that question, there you go. Your ring, your amulet. At Xeri's Foible, best in slot. That's a Twitch chat. Give me a second. So since the Foible gives you a lot of mana, gives you a fuck ton of mana regen, a lot of flat mana, over 100, increased maximum mana, there's really nothing that can replace this. Absolutely, not even Astromantis or some whatever you want to use. On top of that, the items and gems have reduced attribute requirement. Helps so much because we do need a lot of stats. As you guys can see here, we do have a little bit of, not a little bit, we have 50 dexterity and 50 strength on belt and the gloves, respectively. So the anointment that you want is, of course, Prodigal Perfection. It gives you a lot of damage. It gives you 10% spell damage, another 15% increased mana. Mana is always more damage and more energy shield because of the maximum mana's extra ES. And then you get 2% spell damage per 100 mana, up to 40%. Of course, we cap out at 40. This one note gives us 50% damage, increased damage, and a lot of mana. And it's super cheap to anoint, only costing literally 2 blues and a gray, which is like, I kid you not, probably like 15 chaos. Super good. I recommend. The catalyst of choice, of course, as you want, is life and mana modifiers. Please look out for that. It increases everything: the mana regen, the maximum mana, and the flat mana. Look out for that. Moving on, the chest piece that you have to use is an Ivory Tower. It allows you to get an F ton of energy shield. As you guys can see here, I lose about 2,000 ES from this one shield. It doesn't cost a lot of money. Just 6-link it using a Faded Connections because they're super cheap. Like, what, 1.7 exalts right now? Don't bother 6-linking yourself unless you believe in your god tier 6-linking luck. Look for high mana. That's priority. Int is your less priority, but try to get a good both rolls. And just 6-link it and use it. And yeah. For the chest piece, we want a level 21 Blade Vortex. I didn't care about the quality to get AoE because it barely adds anything. I have so much AoE that it's like diminishing returns. I couldn't even tell. So it's cheap to buy level 21, buy that one. Unleash allows you to get 4 stacks of 1 cast, another 4 in a lot of cast. It doesn't let you spam all your mana at once. Please get that node. Energy Shield Leech for sustain. Archmage, really good. I actually corrupted and got level 21. Of course, your best in slot gem, use it. Increase AoE for the more AoE. Swap out with concentrated effects for single target. And the last note is Cold Pen. You can use a Wakey Cold Pen, but I didn't need to, so I didn't buy it. The colors are not too hard. It is kind of annoying to get 2 greens, but it's not crazy. Moving on to your gloves. My gloves, I just need a lot of course, ES. I wanted spell sync or fingerless steel gloves because it does give spell damage. So that's your best base. But you do want dexterity on it. Mana, of course, mana on everything, guys. ES, and then whatever resistances you need. And it's basically, it's like whatever, dude. It's like a basic ass glove. I forgot to even exalt it with like a Crusader or something. That'd probably give me a bit more damage. Right, on top of that, now we have our Stygian Vise. For Stygian Vise, same thing. You want Energy Shield, you want Strength, and then you want whatever resistances you want, and then Mana. I couldn't get one with Mana, so I just crafted Mana myself. It's good enough, but the more Mana you get, the better. And if I didn't say so, on the gloves themselves is Orb Storm's Curse on Hit with Dash, and then Assassin's Mark. Assassin's Mark, what I'm saying, Assassin's Mark. It gives you crit chance, just a little bit of extra damage. You don't really need it for the power charge, since we do have Storm Rider. But Orb Storms with a little bit of Curse, it's not that bad. And AoE is absolutely massive, of course. And then Dash is just simply so if we get into a map that Whirling Blades can't go over ledges, we just, dash right over it. Very good. Right, so as you guys can see here, with an increased AoE, right, and we look at our BV, we pop Arcane Surge, and our increased AoE, where the hell is it? Misk. Right, 174. Is our AoE with Arcane Surge. And if you get quality, it'd be 184. The reason I use this MTX is it shows you kind of where the AoE is. It's a little bit bigger though. Right, very good. Now that's covered. This is very important. The Abyssal Jewel that I got is Dexterity and Intelligence because I needed the Dex, not a big deal. ES and Mana, that's what you're looking for. And then ideally, look for fire damage spells. You're wondering, why do you want fire damage on a cold build? Cinderswallow gives you enemies ignited by you take 10% increased damage, which is technically a more multiplier. It is one of the best flasks for the build. It does recover your life, mana, and energy shield, making it really good sustain for an Archmage build. You do want to use it, trust me, it's so good for clear speed. And you get done with crit chance, is a lot of damage. So if you just add a little bit of fire, it's literally fuck all fire. It's like 45 to 60 fire on our BV. That's all you freaking need. It can be 1 to 2 fire. You will ignite. And it lasts quite a while because it doesn't need a threshold. If you hit them with 1 or 2 fire and it crits, it will ignite, which means that they will take 10% increased damage. That's that easy. So if you do not have this Abyssal Jewel, you're missing out 10% more damage technically from this Cinderswallow. Little minor feature, but it's a big deal. Keep that in mind. It's not very expensive, by the way. And your boots, of course, just look for resistances, ES, and movement speed. That is pretty much it. I found these really, really good boots for like 1 exalt. Don't cap me, I copped it, bro. Get lucky. If anything, just look for more resistances on your gloves. The gloves are not that expensive. Otherwise, just drop a little bit of ES. But yeah, that's pretty much your goal too. You do want to enchant it with ideally penetration or maybe cast speed. Even mana regen would be kind of good, I guess. But ideally penetration if you haven't killed it recently. Best thing for a single target. And there we have our Enlightened level 4, our Herald Device, and a level 20 Blood Magic. As I explained earlier, do swap out with level 21 and the note on here for reduced mana res if you do not have the enchantment for some aura to reduce the mana reservation. And then on a separate node, Frost Bomb to get a another minus 25 exposures, cold exposure, so they reduce their res by minus 25%. Very good damage bonus. So all you do is just, literally spam your BV on a boss, put Frost Bomb, put your Orb of Storms, and right before it pops, pop Arcane Surge, your Flask, and you're good to go. Arcane Surge gives you, and Arcane Cloak gives you so much damage. So please use it wisely, because if you pop it too early, you're missing a lot of flat lightning and 20% more damage from Arcane Surge. So yeah, keep that in mind and make a very big deal on the timing of your Arcane Cloak. As for your Flask, we want a Divine Flask for mana regen. I use Bleed on it. Simple as that. As Zeri's promised, because we are a Fizz build and we are an Elemental build, I realize that this is a shit roll. Ignore that. It doesn't matter. We have plenty of damage anyway. It just gives you a lot of damage. Wise Oak to convert, not convert to, for more cold pen. Make sure your cold resistance is your highest resistance. Otherwise, it would not work. Diamond Flask of Freeze. You're freeze immune and you get a lot more crit, obviously. And then Cinderswallow, as I described earlier, for more damage, sustainability, and crit chance. You can use the Sulfur Bottle Faith instead of the Zeri's Promise, but the issue with that is, of course, it's more expensive. And you kind of want the Chaos Resistance so your mana pool doesn't get fucked instantly by Chaos damage. For your Pantheon, all you're really looking for is Brine King, because since your stun ability is based on your life pool and we're low life, you're gonna get stunned a lot. You want Brine King so you don't get stunned locked. And then after that, I go Social Kari for reduced chaos damage, taken and immunity to poison because it fucks up with your energy shield regen. And at the same time, chaos damage is your enemy if you don't have a lot of chaos res like I do. And really my only source of chaos res is my Edziri's Promise. And of course, since we are crit chance and we do have a little bit of mana regen and we do want that res, for your bandit of choice, you do want to pick Alira like usual in the majority of crit builds. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that covers everything. And that's pretty much the build, guys. It's really good. I hope you guys enjoy it. As for my life pool, as for your MTX, I'm using Transcendence and Sentinel body armor stuff with the Stalker wings and the Azor Seraph. Just make it blue with the Yakshaka shield. Now, I could have used like the cold build, the cold set. I do have the cold set, but I don't want to double dip because I did just make a cold build not too long ago in last league, and it was a cold MTX, and that's what we saw on YouTube. But yeah, I hope you guys like the build. Let me know what you guys think. I do stream on Twitch like always on Saturdays, Sundays, and Fridays at 11:30 EST. If you guys have any questions, please stop by, ask me anything. Join the Discord. If I can't answer you during a stream or you can't come by during a stream, Discord is literally the best place for ask me any questions on the build if I'm off away from YouTube and everything else, because I get it on my phone. Obviously, it's a direct message. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoy the build. If you have anything better, let me know. I would love to look at it. And yeah, until the next build, guys, see you guys later.